you were sponsored by Billabong. You would have been one of the earliest, because Billabong just had Billabong and then they bought out the girls label. So you would have been one of the early sponsors for the girls label, wouldn't you?
And then it escalated from there because I kept hitting best average, best average, best averaged. And how it would work is the head judge would review that and then say, okay.
Everybody wants to see these women surf. Their manoeuvres are unreal. Like there's a young girl, Miller Coco Brown. I don't know if you've seen her. So she does aerials, drops into huge pits, like stuff most guys would go, oh no.
If you love adventure and travel, apply now. And I thought, oh, like this could be the dream. Maybe they're like making a getaway or, something like that. I'm a really big fan of Willy Weather. I used a lot of their different forecasting models.
Welcome to the Green Room, your backstage pass to the world of surfing. I'm your host, surf MC and commentator Terry Tappa, diving into epic wins, crushing fails and wild stories with surfing's biggest names. So wax up, paddle out and join us in the Green Room, where the surf chat never goes flat. Today's guest, well, most people know of her as the weather and surf reporter seen on television screens across Australia. But how I first saw Liz, I'm pretty sure I commentated Liz as a pro junior surfer, and the next time I see Liz, she's on the panel judging the WCT, travelling the world on the Dream Tour, the first female judge on the WCT. Surfer, actor, presenter, MC, reality TV star, weather nerd, there's two in the room, and surf reporter, surfing judge, wife, mum, and much more. Welcome to the Green Room, Liz Cantor.
Thanks, Tappa. Yeah, your voice is so familiar to me. I think those, teenage years, pivotal years out in the water, just listening to you, it's so familiar.
Well, it's kind of funny too, because I get these young pros, in their 20s, and I'm going, wow, it's like they know me really well, and I think, oh, hang on, I've been talking about them since they were 10. So, but it's a really good thing, and it's amazing to see how people like yourself have gone. Now, you've done so much in life already, Liz, but I checked out that you went to school in Brisbane. Is that right?
It is right, yeah. St. Peter's, I was a boarder there. It's one of the co-ed schools in Brisbane.
Well, how did you come to get into surfing? Did you remember, with that? So how did that sort of all eventuate?
My dad. So my dad was a mad keen surfer. They lived in the UK. He spent all his time in Cornwall. The story goes that I was conceived in Cornwall. And then he actually was a doctor and he was in the medical industry and he was getting a bit fed up with the medical system in the UK. And he's just mad keen surfer. So he got out the world map and he had a look at New Zealand and he had a look at Australia. And I've said to Mum, it's only as I've come to this age, she had 3 sisters in the UK. I'm like, how did you move to the other side of the world? And she said, your dad wanted to move for the waves. And my mum said to me, you married him, you go. So very much my dad, he landed on Brisbane, which really confused me because I said, but you moved all the way to Australia for the waves and moved to Brisbane? The only major city without surf.
Yeah.
And we would just spend every weekend Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast. And then it wasn't long before we relocated to Noosa and my parents have lived at Sunshine Beach ever since.
Wow, that's cool. Now, can you remember your first board and your first wave? Everybody kind of remembers their first wave.
Yeah, it was an MR board.
MR?
Yeah, it was amazing. A thruster, had channels in the bottom. I bodyboarded. From the get-go, I always wanted to be in the water with Dad. And there weren't many girls surfing when I was growing up and it just seemed more acceptable to jump on the bodyboard and be out there. And then the scholastics were coming around and I got wind of quite a few of the boys getting a few days off school for the surfing scholastics. And I thought, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to get a few days off school and I'm going to go along. So I remember being out at Rainbow Bay, first time I took out the surfboard rather than the bodyboard. And I think I stood up first wave and I never forgot that feeling and I never looked back.
Wow, you're a bit of a sporty spice too. I checked out you were like a prefect, sports captain, and you played lots of other sports too, didn't you?
Yeah, I love sports, but the problem was I was the kid that would always get the most improved or the best team member, never the MVP or like I'd never win. I just try the hardest.
Yeah.
And I feel like that transitioned to surfing too, and it dictated where I landed in that sport as well. So the effort's there, the raw ability and talent, maybe not.
Oh, I've seen you surf. You go okay, young lady. Don't put yourself down
I know
there.
Stephanie Gilmore.
Yeah, but you were sponsored by Billabong. You would have been one of the earliest because Billabong just had Billabong and then they bought out the girls label. So you would have been one of the early sponsors for the girls label, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. What a gift. Like, what a dream to be part of that team. I was able to travel to places like Chopu with Lane Beachley and met some of my best friends from international places like Alana Brennan from Hawaii. It opened so many doors for me, and I am forever grateful for the opportunities Billabong gave me through those early years.
Now, like surfing in contest, how was that for you? Like, you know,
I was a shocker. I used to get so nervous. I still don't know why, because I'm a relatively mind over matter person, can rationalize things, but for some reason the surfing contest I'd paddle out and I could physically feel my knees knocking on the board. Like I could hear it and I'd be like, get a grip, things under control, but nerves would really get to me.
Did you find too, I find this in contests, like I'll go surfing, heart rate's fine, but in a contest
100%.
my heart rate's right up there and I'm still like,
why can't I breathe while I'm paddling out?
Yeah.
I don't understand what's happening.
Yeah, there's no pressure. It's just like you're paddling, it's like, hang on.
Yeah, I think I was an overthinker and maybe it was just the age, but it's funny, there's a lot of how I came around the nerves in my contest have actually set me up for later in life when I'm working in live television and doing all these jobs and opportunities where people are like, how do you do that? Like, how do you get over the nerves? Like you're about to go live or you're speaking in front of a crowd of 1,000 people and the premiere, and it all stems from those early days of conditioning myself to handle the nerves in my surf heats.
Well, so yeah, I find that like because I play in bands and do some other stuff, and I find you need to be a little bit nervous. You need to have that little edge.
It means you care.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it does mean you care. Now, what's your most proudest moment of like doing the stuff with Billabong and being a pro junior surfer?
Oh gosh, I think it only hit me in hindsight. So definitely acknowledging being the first female surf judge to sit on the World Tour panel. That was a changing of the guards and it opened a lot of doors, and it was something at the time that couldn't be argued. It wasn't like I wasn't put on the panel because I was a girl. Yeah. So how it works with the judging is I was at actually an Australian titles. Yeah. I got knocked out and I didn't want to sit around, and I didn't realise it at the time, but it must have been kind of something with the government. They had to give students the opportunity to have an experience at judging. And so I jumped in. I didn't want to sit around doing nothing. I'm pretty sure I've got ADHD. Always have to be doing something. I'm diagnosed.
Me too.
Jumped in, did it, and what happened at that contest where they also determined the most accurate judge over the period of the contest. So 5 judges, you throw a score, they average the score, and then the most accurate judge to that average score over the period is deemed most accurate judge. And because I had I got that figure. They then put me on a QS contest because that was the prize. Basically, you got to judge a QS contest in Australia, and then it escalated from there because I kept hitting best average, best average, best averaged. And how it would work is the head judge would review that and then say, okay, this is the most accurate judge. We need to move them along. And before I knew it, I kind of incidentally fallen into surf judging, and they incidentally had to throw me on the world tour. So I remember I would be in Tavarua, absolute dream locations. That has to be the win. But sharing a room with Renato and all these blokes. I was half their age and the only female in a room with 4 other male judges. And like everyone was just a little bit confused, and I'd go to sleep and all I could hear in my dreams was red paddling, red up and riding, yellow paddling, yellow up and riding. And I was still like, hang on a second, how did I get here? But you know, I was being paid $1,000 a day, which was incredible.
There was a lot of money in it back then, wasn't there?
In my early 20s. And
it is.
Again, I guess I had this little sense of imposter syndrome because one second I'd been, out in the lineup with these girls like Serena Brooks and, competing with them, and then next second I was judging them.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit of this hard period where I almost felt awkward, of a divide between myself and my friends and where I thought I should be, because all of a sudden I was in the judges' tower. And they were some really tricky years, and I probably didn't enjoy the experience enough because of that dynamic.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, I look back and it is something I feel really proud of.
Yeah, there's some great female judges on the tour now. It's still not 50-50, but there are some great judges, even some of the girls head judging as well. I remember I got 1981 best judge at the school titles. Glenn Elliott didn't believe me. I had to bring down the little plaque. I've still got the plaque, but no, I've never judged to your level. But,
Cheers, Glenn. I came in under Glenn too. And he was really receptive and encouraging. So he is somebody that I owe a lot of thank yous to.
And a pretty well-experienced man. He judged the first surf. He was the head judge at surfing at the first Olympics that they did surfing. That's pretty cool. Eh? That's a great achievement for Glenn.
Man, I should have stuck with surf judging.
Oh,
could have been at the Olympics.
Now, what do you think of these young girls coming through now? Obviously, you see some of them surf. And what do you think of these young women now, how good they are?
Insane. So it makes me really proud. And it just shows that when given the opportunity and when there aren't the restrictions, what a level playing field it can be. I actually worked for Billabong for a little while as their girls team manager, and one of the first people I signed was Sally Fitzgibbons.
Not a bad signing.
I remember getting the paperwork, and she'd sent pictures of her playing soccer and pictures of her playing cricket, and I watched some of her surfing, and I thought, this girl's really got something. So I had Sally and Laura.
And Loz too.
Yep. So to see where they've landed now, it just makes me so proud. But I think what else I love about the female surfing now is back when I was competing, there was still this little bit of we didn't really have our identity right. We were still we were trying to surf like the blokes.
Well, they didn't even have girls' board shorts at the start, did they?
No, and then some of us started surfing in bikinis, and then there'd be almost like an awkward judgment from some of the other girls for doing that, and it was just we were all a little bit lost in where we fit. But these days, I love seeing the girls own their space and surf like girls, and it just seems like there's no judgment other than their capabilities and their performance on the wave. They can be whoever they want to be in the lineup, and there's no trying to fit a mold or fit a part. They just are who they are, and look at them fly ever since being given that room.
Well, I just see the difference now. Like I remember when I was commentating the CT and the girls had come on and, part of the beach would leave. Now, everybody wants to see these women surf. Their manoeuvres are unreal. Like there's a young girl, Miller Coco Brown. I don't know if you've seen her. So she does aerials, drops into huge pits, like stuff most guys would go, oh no. Like these girls now.
Sierra Kerr.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know. They surf better than most guys at your local beach. You know? And yeah, it's great to see, because I think women's surfing is on like a 45-degree incline, and men's is just putting along at 30. Like the girls are getting better and better and better.
Yeah.
And it's so good to see.
It is. But I also think we do have your Kiala Kennelys and your groundbreakers to thank for the space to come through and do that, to be trusted in that big wave space and to push limits. And
Well, Laura never what she does now. She's crazy. And she's
How does she not snap?
Well, you know what she said once? We had her at luncheon. So when she first started doing it, they used to tape her elbows and her knees so she wouldn't get ripped apart, because
I'm not surprised.
She's only a tiny, and she's so skinny, and she looks a lot taller because like when you don't see her compared to anything. But yeah, it's crazy the stuff she does. She's always been a charger, but just crazy. But they do. Now, early 2000s, you were pretty flat out. University, movies, TV shows, a lot happening then. Now, how did it all happen, the transition from judging into university to media and all that sort of stuff, and the acting as well?
Well, I think I always did a bit of acting growing up, purely because I'm a storyteller. My mum's an English teacher. Like, I come from half my family are in medicine and the other half are in the arts. Like, we're very confused.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So my mum's side of the family are all English teachers, storytellers, presenters, cameramen, creatives, and then dad's side's all medicine doctors. But I definitely was born with the storytelling gene that got me in a lot of trouble at times growing up. And I think, I went into surfing because I just loved the way it made me feel. I never really considered it as a career. So I'd always planned on going to university and doing journalism. Then I fell into traveling on the circuit as a surf judge, but I was still remotely doing my university. And I think I just always had it in my head that when I got that degree, I had to give journalism and storytelling a crack. And I went in wanting to be a sports journalist. But then I actually fell more in love with weather, what I knew about weather from surfing and growing up in a family that chased the waves on the weekend, and then also from boarding at St. Peter's in Brisbane with lots of boarders and going out to their stations and seeing remote parts of Queensland and Australia and learning the importance of weather on those properties and how much it changed their lives. Channel 7, where I started doing work experience, didn't have anyone doing a beach report. They'd had Brownie's Coast Watch back in the day and then it got canned. And I went in and said, I can do a beach report. We need to bring one back. 9 still have one. Why don't we? And I think they just were like, a girl wants to do a beach report? This old story again, women don't do the beach report. And I mean, still,
why not?
Even 2 years ago, I was on a network with Paul Burt and we did the same job. But Paul, his label was Coastal Expert. Mine was Weather Presenter. But there's no degree for a coastal expert.
But to be honest, Liz, I love Bertie. He's a great bloke. He's a fisherman. He surfs, but he's not a surfer. You're a surfer. You know what I mean? So if anyone's a coastal expert, it's you. Well, even though he's a fisherman, you know what I mean?
But just the powers to be in those media networks, still the titles, there was kind of that restriction of, no, we can't call you a coastal expert. You're a weather presenter, you're a girl and you're doing the weather. But anyway, they gave me a chance and very quickly went from doing the beach reports for Channel 7 to doing the weather, and I just fell in love with the opportunity to tell people that information and really lent into it. Then started working for Creek to Coast because of my surfing background, and that escalated to Weekender, 2 shows I'm extremely proud of. And for me, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to share those stories. So I didn't mind that they were state-based shows and I still got to live in Queensland and live this incredible lifestyle and still be here on the Gold Coast surfing. That's my dream job. I found I always used to get asked, but what's the goal? What do you want to do? And I was like, is it weird that I'm saying I'm doing what I want to do? Do you want me to say, sunrise weather or something big? But I just realized I'm so blessed to have a job in media with some longevity, because you can go nationally and work on a show for 3 months that then doesn't get renewed. Or you can stick with something like Creek to Coast, which has now been on air for over 20 years. And it's not the best paycheck, but my gosh, we live the dream.
Well, that's it, and enjoy it. The one I wanted to ask you about your acting career. I used to watch this show sometimes. Blue Water High.
Oh,
You're
so
on
good.
Blue Water High.
So good. So I could play that part with ease, paddling out for my heats and that competition, and I played the bitch. So
did you?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Corinne Hardy, she was the one out in the lineup that used to sit on people and hassle them, and I'd watched that plenty of times. So I was like,
did you draw any inspiration?
Watch me play Pauline Menza or
Naughty Paul.
Megan and Boo on a bad day. I was like, who am I going to be today? So Claire Bevilacqua.
Well, that's classic, because when you I did a little bit of school acting, but you draw inspiration from sort of people and other things you've seen. So that's really cool that you could do that, because you'd actually experienced all that, so you could do that. That's amazing. That's cool. Now, more television, reality TV star, The Mole. Now, how was that? That sort of was one of your kind of big breaks when you won that.
Yeah, it was. So I remember I was living with my boyfriend Beau at the time, and I'd finished university. I was trying to find a job, and here we go. I'm showing my age again. You could still get a job section in newspapers, and I remember sitting on the back deck and going through the newspaper job section, and then I just saw this little 7 logo, and it said, "If you love adventure and travel, apply now." And I thought, this could be the dream.
Me.
Maybe they're like making a getaway or, something like that. And so I did the whole online process. I remember going down to the Coolangatta Internet Cafe to do my online application. And then I went to the auditions, went all through the auditions. And I was actually doing the sea cruises for CFM at the time. And I was in one of the cars and got a phone call and pulled over and they said, you've actually been selected. We're sending you a contract now. If you sign it and return it by tomorrow, you're going to be on a show called The Mole and you're flying out to New Zealand on Monday. I think it was a Thursday or Friday. Yeah. They did it so that you kind of had to accept their terms and conditions and move quick. And I guess because so many people audition, if their top tier say no, they just go to the next down the line. So I drove back to CFM and I remember going in and seeing my boss and saying, could I potentially get 12 weeks off to do a show called The Mole? And she said no. And it was the first time in my life I've ever quit a job. I'm like, I've got Jewish heritage and we're workers and like we're taught strong work ethic. And I remember I was just in this moment and I was like, I feel like I have to do this. I'm like, I'm sorry. I guess I need to resign then. I think it's the only job I've ever quit. But went on and it worked out well because I ended up winning the show. It was an incredible experience and I'm so grateful. It was back in the day where there wasn't really social media yet. There was, barely Facebook. There was no Instagram. We went in and it wasn't about us. It was about playing a game and that was so fun. Like we just lost ourselves in the game of who is the mole.
And so you had cameras on you all the time though, didn't you?
All the time, yeah.
How is it? Like, because I've never done it.
You forget so quickly.
Really, that the cameras are there?
And I think if you're quite competitive too.
Yeah.
Like,
which you are, I guess.
Once that clock starts and they've told you you've got a certain amount of time, just it kicks in and you're like, if I have to rip threads to win this, I'm going to. Don't care. And I was so young. I was 23. I wasn't really aware of how I'd come across. I guess that's a blessing, like the naivety of not even contemplating how I'd come across to people. Yeah. There was no filter. I just was who I was. Yeah. So, and it was nice to have that experience back then. I think a lot of the reality TV shows now, the shame about them is everyone is so aware that they're being watched. Yeah. As opposed to back then when we were just in playing a game. It was reality.
Wow, yeah, because I like my reality. I've never seen it. I don't know if you can watch it or not. I don't know. You probably got a copy, have you?
Oh, well, I actually they've just brought back The Mole on Netflix.
Oh, have they?
And so weird. I came home last night and my son was watching like the latest season of The Mole on Netflix.
Oh, right.
And he's 8.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I was like, "You watching The Mole?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "I won that show." And I've never ever said anything like that to him before. He's like, "What do you mean you won this show?" And I was like, "No, I won the OG Mole, like the season 5 Mole in 2005." And I was like, "You should watch that sometime, kid. You should watch what your mum did." And I had to explain it all to him. And it was like the first time he's ever taken interest in my work.
Now, that's not the only one. You're the only person I think ever heard has won 2 reality shows. But you did that with your husband, Ryan. Were you married before that, or
we just got married actually? So it was how we ended up on that show was from our wedding shots. So when Ryan and I got married, and Ryan used to be in surf life saving, he's a bit of a waterman too. Yeah. We did some underwater wedding shots. Yeah. Just a creative idea I had. And they got spotted online by a casting company that were looking for adventurous couples from around the world. So they got in touch. They asked us to apply. Somehow I convinced Ryan to apply. I think what got him was the opportunity to go to Africa and do something that money couldn't buy, experience of being thrown out in the land to survive.
That's a way to test your marriage straight up.
It sure was.
Wow.
It sure was. So, and we learned a lot about each other very quickly.
Wow, because that's like you're just married. So you'd gone out for a while before that?
About a year. It was a pretty quick engagement actually.
Oh, wow. So that's like dun, 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 under pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yep.
Actually, I saw a really cute clip and it's got the leaf with with someone loves that. That was very cute.
Yeah, it's about the most romantic thing he's ever done. Pick up your game, Ryan. Ride on a leaf to me again sometime. So, yeah, use charcoal from a fire because to set the context, we had absolutely nothing out there. We were in the bush. Yeah. And so the way the show worked was there were 5 different couples from different countries around the world. It's basically Survivor. We're in a situation like Survivor and we'd compete. But with the couples, if you came last in a competition, you would be separated before eliminated, and one of the people from the couples would be put into isolation. And then if their partner managed to win the Survivor Challenge against the others as an individual, they could win their partner out of isolation. If they lost the challenge, then they both go home. So the note written on the leaf was written in charcoal from a fire as I was following them in isolation behind the challenges, waiting for Ryan to hurry up and win me back.
So Ryan had to win you back.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty romantic.
It was a really cool show.
Yeah.
I'm still working out why we haven't had another season anywhere in the world or it's been picked up by Australia. I might have to start pitching it again. It was a cool concept. It was like The Bachelor, Married at First Sight meets Survivor, all meshed into one.
Wow, that's pretty cool though. But yeah, definitely a way to test a marriage. So pretty solid, girl. Now, like you're a surf reporter, weather reporter, and I've seen you at work recently covering Cyclone Alfred. You really are a weather nerd like me. And do you think most keen surfers are weather nerds?
I think so. I think it's the best kind because you learn from such a young age. Like name me a surfer that doesn't know if it's southerly, you go to the point breaks. If it's northerly, you go to the northern beaches. But then you start recognising, the southerly wind's a cooler wind, the northerly wind's a warmer wind. But hang on a second, the northerly wind, the warmer wind makes the ocean go cold and the southerly wind makes it warm.
Ekman transport.
And you so it's just, we are so connected to nature, and then weather becomes such a key part of that you almost learn incidentally again, so much knowledge. And I find it really fun to put that into my weather reports as well, because for me, I'm not just telling the weather, I'm telling a lifestyle. Yeah. And that's never lost on me.
Oh, that's cool. I remember when I first started surf reporting, right? There was the only way there was no, surf line or anything like that. It was just weather maps. And the only way you could get an up-to-date weather map was the newspaper. That was old. The TV the night before, that's old. So you'd ring a number and they'd fax you back the synoptic chart. And you'd look at the synoptic chart and you'd try and work it out, plus the weather reports. And I found that sort of set me up. Do you still look at synoptic charts?
I do, yeah. But it is insane the amount of information we're privileged to now.
Yeah.
I always like to go back to them. I'm a really big fan of Willy Weather. I used a lot of their different forecasting models through Tropical Cyclone Alfred, which we just recently experienced. And I was really impressed. Like I remember Tropical Cyclone Alfred was moving into uncharted territory. Like when it was coming down south into the ocean, I kept thinking it's just going to go to the graveyard. Like that's where cyclones die. And these forecast models were showing it coming back westerly. And I was thinking, but
they never do that.
No, how? No. And then it showed this high coming across the Tasman Bight, swinging, winds around. I've got to go anti-clockwise, giving it an easterly nudge. And when I was learning about cyclones, one of the first things I learned, they're like spinning tops. So they're so unpredictable, because if you think of those spinning tops, like one little breath of air or like wind or a little bump, and it's spinning off in a new direction at rapid speed. And sure enough, I remember watching, I think it was the Thursday, and the forecast models had it shifting from going easterly away from the mainland to all of a sudden coming westerly towards the mainland. And there were 3 or 4 meteorologists, including Tony Auden, and we were all on the text to each other. And I was like, has anyone seen the westward movement yet? Has anyone? And then I got a text back from one of them, Justin, saying, it's moving west. And we were all like, no way. I was like, the models are right. Like, it's just incredible because it's predictability. It's a crystal ball in some ways. It's using, I guess, AI, some artificial intelligence and IT, but there's been so few tropical cyclones that far in southern
south,
waters that their reference points are 50 years ago. So
and the water
it was very
so
impressive.
warm, wasn't it, too?
Well, that was the whole reason it happened.
27 degrees or something for ages.
Yeah, and I had actually thought a few times throughout the summer, this water is too warm. This water is too warm. This water is too warm. We'd had so few swells. We had such a hot January, February. The heat just continued to build. We had record-breaking heat all January, February, and now we wonder why we're having this late flurry of severe cyclones. So basically, if a cyclone's under a Cat 3, then they're not severe, but we're actually getting into the severe territory. So I think usually every cyclone season we have between, I'm on the spot, 7 to 11, and we're now up to 8. But within that 8, most of them have been severe. So it's quite an intense but late cyclone season for 2025.
For me, I like the cyclones that go down in New Zealand because they give you the best swell. But that surf, that
unbelievable.
Like that was the day I did the cross with you at Burleigh Point. That was just so massive. And one dude I knew went out on his big red board and the Liam O'Brien that had been out the day before. But the surfing was incredible.
The guy on the big red board?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Oh, I can't
I'm putting you on
remember.
this. He was hilarious. He was all on his own.
Yeah.
And I saw him heading out and he paddled out. Apparently he tried to get out through Tully Creek and he couldn't, and he ended up going out down at Palmy, like the dog beach, and he made it out. But I had been there as he was paddling out watching him, and then I happened to be down at Rickshaw's doing a live cross for Channel 10 when he came in, and he came skipping up the beach, like literally doing the Mary Poppins, like legs together leaps. He was on the biggest high. I was like, man, how was that? I'm so glad that you're alive.
And did he get a couple of waves, hey?
He said he did a lot of paddling, but but Kira, it was Kira for me.
Yeah, that was amazing,
Just insane. But the other thing that I noticed with this cyclone swell as well, as opposed to maybe I think it was 2014 and 2011, all the snap boards.
Yeah.
Like the modern technology just does not hold up in those waves anymore, does it? It was, I would say 1 in 6 people who came to the beach had a broken board in their arm.
Well, that's what they used to say back in the day. The board makers used to rub their hands together when there was a big swell because there was no leg ropes and the boards would wash up on the rocks. Now they just break in too. But they're built like the modern yachts now. They're very light, like those racing yachts. You don't want them in bad weather because they don't hold up as well. But the boards were just getting smashed one after another. But like some of those waves were just off the hook. How good they were and the surfing, there's a lot of those people out there. Like you interviewed Clint Kimmins. Now, like people were saying, like that was the main thing. You pushed that, which I'm really glad you did, and I wanted to as well. That, like a lot of the general public had no idea, and they're saying they're putting themselves at risk, they're putting rescuers at risk. But these people that are doing those ones, like out at Burleigh and on the really big, they know what they're doing, don't they? Like Clint's a professional lifeguard.
I get frustrated because I feel like I cop it both ways. Like I get, the media.
Yeah.
And then I work in the media and I work alongside a lot of those journalists who are just doing their absolute best and trying to get the right messages across and also aware that some of those messages have the potential to save lives. So when they have those messages to stay out of the water, I can see why some of the journalists get frustrated. But for me, it's, you lean into the experts in that field.
Yeah.
And I was in a situation with Channel 10 where they did a couple of stories about, people have been asked to stay out of the water, people, surfers are still entering the water. And I took that as my opportunity to say, well, hang on a second, let's actually look at the people entering the water. Can we remember that these are the same people that the government were leaning into on jet skis to rescue people in the 2022 floods in northern New South Wales?
Exactly,
like a lot of the guys out there still in the water in that situation are the best watermen in the world who are the rescuers when needed, not the ones that are going to be needing to be rescued. So I think the message just got a little bit lost. I won't name names, but I was watching one of the breakfast shows in the morning and one of the key figures and the host was saying, "Oh, can you see there's still people out behind me at Burleigh and how irresponsible." And I knew the surfer out behind him, and I was like, "Mate,
Yeah,
he surfs in front of cliffs in waves bigger than this. I think he's going to be all right.
Yeah,
he's on a sand bottom." And it was almost laughable, but just trying to I understand where they're coming from, and they get frustrated because it's also, we are in this industry where we see the worst case scenario all the time. We're sitting at work, we're hearing the awful details of, the families that have just lost someone to a drowning or this, that. Like it's almost, I think people forget that being a news journalist at times is equivalent to being in the paramedics. It's equivalent to being in the fireys. We hear the worst of situations.
And sometimes you see it as well because you got to look at the pictures.
And we often see it.
Yeah.
And we often see a lot of imagery, video content that the public don't see because we are the ones that filter that and stop it going through because it's too much. And I think people forget sometimes that can also sway what we're saying on air. So I think it's more compassion, more understanding, but absolutely in that situation, I was like, I have a mic, I have the ability to educate some people right now. I'm going to lean into those that I know and just make sure people know that these guys have every right. They travel the world for these conditions.
Exactly.
Are you kidding? You're going to try and stop them from going out there now?
Yeah.
Are you going to find them? No. Yeah. But I remember someone came up to me on Burleigh Hill when we were up there and they were like, "Oh, the government's going to fine these guys for going surfing. What pricks, blah, blah, blah." And then I looked it up online and it wasn't that they're fining people for entering the water. They were basically saying the conditions are so dangerous now. If we have to risk rescuers' lives to go out and save you because of irresponsible behaviour, we will charge you for it.
Ah, right.
So it kind of turned into Chinese whispers that if you were going in the water, you're going to get fined.
16 grand if you go in the water.
16 grand. No, it was 16 grand if you took out a
and they had to get
blow
the
up
helicopter
duck,
out,
and they had to get the helicopter to pull you back in on your blow up duck in 4 metre. 6 metre, it's actually 10 metre swells, like insane.
Well, that was the biggest
15 metres
waves
off the Tweed, wasn't it?
I know, it's the biggest waves I've ever seen surfed at Burleigh when Liam and Toby were out there. I've never seen anything that high. And I've been looking at that since I was a little kid. How to change things a little. I've found out stuff about you because I've known you a long time, but you used to play in a string quartet. Is that true?
I played the cello.
The cello?
For 11 years.
So do you still play?
I can play, but it's not a very, So I had this conversation with Dad recently because Dad plays guitar. Yeah. And I was like, why the hell did I play the cello? Like, that's the most inconvenient instrument. Like, no one's at a party and just whips out a cello and goes, "Let's jam." Like, no one has a cello, and they're a pain in the ass to carry around. And apparently I was in grade 2. They were introducing us to instruments and it was just, and this was so my personality back then. I just looked around the room and which is the biggest one, and I'll have that one. So, and then I started the cello in grade 2 and I didn't stop playing it until I left school, and then I was busy with surfboards and travelling and it kind of fell by the wayside. But I've still got it at home, resting against the piano that I don't have time to play either.
Piano too.
Yeah. I think I played during pregnancy for a couple of days when I had some quiet time, but it's just 3 kids, there's just not the time right now. So maybe one day.
Well, you might have to teach them stuff when they get old. Do you get your kids seem to like music? Or?
Yeah, they do. Kit, who's my oldest, he's 8. He has to do strings in grade 3 at his school, All Saints, and he actually just chose to play the viola, and I couldn't talk him out. I was like, why viola? That's even worse than the cello. Like, nobody uses a viola. Nobody has songs for a viola. It's got its own key. I'm like,
wonder where he gets that from.
It was so frustrating. I couldn't talk him around. I was like, play an instrument, like play the guitar. The guitar's the cool one. Not viola. What the
That's pretty
hell?
Cool.
Anyway.
Oh, that's cool. Now there's something else. Now look, this is something, you've done it for a long while. Lotto. Now in 2024, you presented the 200 million. Now, like, I've, trivia. Yeah, you've won $100. Oh, you've won this raffle. You've done that. But actually, people, your voice changes someone's life. Like, they hear you say, you don't say their name, do you?
No.
But when they hear their stuff, you've changed their life. So how does it feel knowing that someone's hearing you going like, Oh my God. How does that feel?
I'm not a super woo-woo person, but when the money gets that big, I always had this tradition of saying just before the balls dropped, just before we went live, I would do a little, hello universe, let this go to someone good and deserving.
Oh, cool.
I remember every time it got maybe above 50,000, that would be my tradition to say, like, just hello, let's check in, let's give this to someone who's going to do the right things with it, because that money can be make or break, and that's what you would hear, like the draw officials, government supervisors, they have a lot of stories of those people that do win that money and lose it very quickly.
Yeah, that can happen when you get a lot of money, like buy 500 houses and then, whatever. But like, now here's another one. I've seen pictures of you on thoroughbreds, and you're a bit of a horse nut too, I believe.
Yeah, horse obsessed. Always have been.
Yeah?
Ever since I was little.
What sort of horses were your main thing?
Thoroughbreds. Yeah. Don't give me the ponies. I always fall off the ponies, but then put me on a racehorse and I'm fine. It must be and do you know what is really funny? Yeah. There's so many similarities between horse riding and surfing.
Really?
They're just made for each other. The unpredictable nature, like the peripheral vision, the where you look is where you go, the center of gravity. You know how no two waves are ever the same? Like no two rides really are ever the same. You're always feeling it out. You're always looking around. And the one thing that I absolutely love the most about both horse riding and surfing is your head has to be there. Now, and if your head's not there, you'll wipe out or fall off.
Now, you're not an exceptionally tall woman, so did you ever think of like becoming a jockey?
I didn't consider it, but one of my best friends now, she did become a professional jockey, and we always laugh that I miss my calling because she thinks I'm just like wild on her horses as well. Like she's like, be careful with that one. That one's going to bolt. And I'm like, as soon as it starts bolting, I'm like, I'm wild. I love it.
Well, that's the thing with horses. It's like you got to go, because my dad had quarter horses. Used to do camp drafting and all that.
They're good horses.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Thoroughbreds are crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Like,
I've always loved the naughty ones.
Yeah. Well, see, that's it. How do you not like? You just got to. Do you actually feel it through the reins?
Like a wave.
Yeah.
When you're surfing a wave, you feel pretty quickly if it's going to throw you, if it's going to pitch you, if it's going to be like a fat one that slows down or speeds up on the inside. Like you feel that through the horse too pretty quickly what's coming. And I just love the unpredictable nature of that. And also that you have to be in tune with what you're doing. Because as I said, like if your head goes anywhere else when you're on one of those waves or on the back of a horse that's slightly unpredictable, you'll come unstuck.
Wow.
So it's almost meditative. Like it's a form of therapy for me when I've got such a busy mind, like that when I am surfing or when I am horse riding, I have to be there.
So do you get to go get to do a bit of horse riding?
As much as I can, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I still try and exercise ex-race horses. And then I tell you what, like we're talking about horses and surfers, so I have to acknowledge it. Jockeys and professional surfers, they're two of the craziest jobs in the world. I swear the injuries, but the head knocks, it's insane.
You're married to Ryan. You've got your gorgeous kids. How do you fit in all this being mum, weather TV presenter, and still get a surf? How do you fit all this in?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm dropping the ball on still get a surf at the moment. Yeah. So I find that I'm riding an MF foamy all the time because, by the time with the 3 kids now, we're taking their bodyboards and their surfboards, and then often there's no room for my board. So I'm finding that I'm just like paddling out on kits and getting waves on kits and having a muck around there. But I just keep saying to myself, like, they're only little, at this moment. I'm in their season. So my surfing and my hobbies have to come second for a little while, but they'll come back as they get older. And I was a bit worried because Kit, my oldest, we call him Cautious Kit. Like he wasn't naturally inclined to like get out in the water and want to start surfing. And then we had Fearless Finn, but then Finn kind of followed Kit and became a bit of a land animal. It's like, where's the ball? See the ball, kick the ball. But you want to come surfing, Finn? Nah, Mum. Finally, I've had a daughter, she's 2, and we just can't keep her out of the ocean. And I might have finally had my surfer, is what I'm trying to say, but it's taken a while. They all pick what they want to do. You can't really push them into it, can you?
Well, I've got 4 kids. One's a serious surfer. My baby girl, she had a bit of a go, but now she's, engaged and all that stuff. So, but it's what I found? When Nathan got into his surf and got really keen, I had another burst of keenness. Like,
I hope that comes.
we'd be there and it'd be like, Dad, we're going to, and you go, I said, have your brekkie, mate. Yep. Dad, the board's in the car. Dad. And my ex, when I was with my wife, she'd go, just get him out of the house now. And I was a frothing grommet again too. And hopefully that comes your way, because the kids have a way of dragging you into it and making you just froth so much. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And well, it's actually my dad's birthday today. But my favourite memories of my relationship with my dad being in the lineup with him, and also the family holidays we had surfing in Lombok, or going to Tasmania and surfing Bruny Island, and that time together in the water. It's just, it gives you a bond like no other. And I think for any family out there that has the chance to surf together, it's pretty special. Yeah,
it is really cool. I used to go out at Greenmount and say, Nath, when I get a wave, just drop in. And then he got to about 13 and he smoked me on this bomb and he laughed at me. And I thought, okay, so he actually got one himself, and I did the biggest fade, smoked him. It's like, woo, and I've got, not so funny now, mate. I said, guess what? You get your own waves now. That was that point in time, so you'll probably get that too. You never know. But where's your favourite place to surf? Like, you grew up sort of on, well, so your surfing grow up was probably on the sunny coast. Would it be Noosa or?
Yeah, I have to say Granite Bay, Tea Tree. Yeah, Granite and Tea Tree. Yeah. I feel like I know those waves so well, and everyone complains about the crowd, but I know like trees that I can line up with, and if I line up with that tree, I'll likely get a wave. So I feel like they're my sweet spots, and but I also love Double Island Point as a wave. I love North Point Morden, although I'm not allowed to surf there. I've been banned because of sharks by my dad. So it's convenient that there's no mobile reception, so you can't be held accountable while you're there.
Whoops, I didn't go there, Dad.
No, but probably my favourite wave in the world that I've ever surfed was swimming pools off Namotu.
Oh, that'd be beautiful too, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I was there. Cloudbreak was massive, and there was no way I was surfing Cloudbreak or restaurants. And I got dropped in at swimming pools, and I just remember I've always been a bit scared of reef. Like, I've always been timid in Hawaii. And I paddled in at swimming pools. It was the easiest takeoff ever. And then you literally stand there and it barrels. And I was like, who made this wave? Like, this is heaven on earth.
Wow, I want to go there now.
Easiest wave ever. So, and just, take me back there now. But it's really busy now. It's been discovered like so many breaks. So I'm on a quest with my family. I think we want to do Sri Lanka. We want to try and find some of the
Sri Lanka's getting a bit crowded.
Is it?
Too. Yeah.
I want to try and find some of the uncrowded waves out there again that haven't been completely saturated by people, but also that we're not going to get eaten by shark.
Well, I had Tony Elderington in here about a month ago. He reckons there's plenty of waves up in the Mentawais that have never been found, but he's found most of them. He's not going to tell you where they are.
Yep.
There are waves out there, but you know what? Sometimes at your local break, you can get those days where you just luck it out and there's no one. Like, I've had Tea Tree for about 3 hours, and for some reason, nobody was there.
Yeah.
And then the tide changed and the rip got too much. But you can get those days, can't you?
And aren't they magic?
Oh, they are. Yeah.
Well, I think I was talking to you before because I love First Point Noosa as well. Like, I mean, talk about a playground. What can go wrong there? You can push your limits too, because you can't really get hurt. Like, it's sand bottom. It's such a great wave.
It's beautiful there too.
But I'm like, I think I'm going to have to go back to competitive surfing just to go out there and surf it with 4 other people. I don't mind coming last in the heat and making an absolute fool of myself. I just want to catch a wave and not hassle 150 people to get it.
Gonna have to get a celebrity contest at Snapper for you, hey? See if you get
I'll
in
have to become a celebrity first.
Oh, come on. But that's awesome, Liz. Like you've done so much, in such a short time. You just packed a lot in, and it's so awesome to hear it and to find out all this other stuff I didn't know about you. That's been awesome, Liz. Thanks for coming into the green room.
Pleasure. The green room, that's where I feel like that's my home. Like, that's the OG Liz. That's the real me. So this is where I am.
Cool. That's cool. Thank you. Thanks for tuning into The Green Room. A big thank you to our guests for sharing their stories and insights, our producer Sarah, and Podfire for bringing this podcast to life. Don't forget to subscribe, like, leave a review, and share The Green Room with your friends. We'll catch you next time for more conversations with the legends of surf and beyond. Until then, catch you in the waves.